I get asked all the time how much money I make for my 196 rental properties, like how much money I make every single month, net after all expenses. So in this video, I'm gonna walk you through that. I'm gonna show you my portfolio sheet, walk you through all my properties and show you how much I make at the end of every single month. I'm also gonna hop over on the whiteboard and show you a cash flow formula that you can use to make sure your rental properties cash flow. Before I head over to the whiteboard, make sure to hit that like button. I'd appreciate it, and I think you're gonna like this video. So let's head over to the whiteboard. All right, before I hop on my computer and show you my portfolio file, go through all of our actual cash flow numbers, showing you what we cash flow on each property and showing you how much we make every single month on our 196 rental properties, let's quickly talk about the cash flow formula. This will help you if you're trying to analyze your current portfolio, if you're trying to analyze future deals. This will tell you if you're gonna cash flow. Because no matter where you're buying or what you're planning to do, I suggest you should always cash flow. I get that some markets appreciate more than others, but you should always make sure your property cash flows, because if worse comes to worse, as long as you're still cash flowing, you should be fine. Even if your properties dip in value, as long as they're cash flowing and you're able to pay the banks, you should be just fine. Even in 08, let's not even go there, even in 08, people that had relationships with good banks and that had properties that remained rented because people started renting in 08 were just fine. Not every single real estate investor got crushed in 08 like people think. All the good investors that have properties that cash flow were just fine. So let's talk about that and get you to that point. Cash flow formula. The first thing you're going to need to figure out is you're going to need to figure out how much your property is actually renting for or what it's going to rent for. There's lots of different places you can find this. I usually just look on Zillow and look at what the Zillow rent Zestimate is and pull up the little purple button on top and it'll show you what current houses are renting for in that area. You usually go out about a mile depending on how many houses are there. And if you have a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,000 square foot house, see what other 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,000 square foot houses are renting for. Make sure they're similar condition to yours. And guess what? That's probably what yours is gonna rent for. So now you have to minus out 6 major owning expenses. The first owning expense you're gonna have to minus out is the mortgage. Most people buy rental properties, and in fact, I suggest and preach and hope that you do have mortgages so you can buy multiple rental properties. Most people don't have enough cash to buy one rental property cash, let alone a lot. So if you're going to buy a lot of rental properties, definitely you're going to have mortgages on that. And this will be a number that even if you're analyzing it before you buy the deal, you should know about how much you're buying it for and about how much you're gonna have in it. So you should be fairly close and know what your mortgage is going to be every single month. All these numbers are broken out monthly. The second expense that you're gonna have to account for monthly is your real estate taxes. Now this is one that you pay at the end of every single year, but you definitely wanna accrue for this every single month. You don't wanna get to the end of the year having not accrued for this and have to come, up with 2, 3, 4 grand, on the spot to pay your real estate taxes because you own that property taxes. So this is something that you should be able to tell or know. You go to the tax records or again, Zillow, you can go there, they usually tell you how much taxes are, the yearly taxes. You're gonna have to divide that by 12 so you know how much to set aside every single month. But again, this is a known number that you should know when you're putting your formula in. The next, insurance. You're obviously going to have insurance on this rental property. Now make sure you're talking to brokers or other investors or insurance agents that deal with rental property specifically, because not every, insurance broker or every insurance company has a good product for rental properties. So again, this is something you can get a bid on. Let the insurer know what the property is. They're going to ask you a few questions about the conditions of things, and they will give you a hard number of a yearly premium that you divide by 12, or that they'll divide by 12 for you, that you're going to know you're going to have to come out of pocket every single month to pay. The fourth expense is maintenance. Hopefully you've done this with the BRRRR method, which if you don't know what the BRRRR method is, click on this video above where I go through a real life case study of me walking through a rental property that we recently did, where we walk through the befores, the durings, and the afters and show you the real life numbers and show you some cool pictures of how we rehab our rental property. So check that out if you have interest in learning more about the BRRRR method. Maintenance is something that is a little bit of an unknown. That's why we just accrue for it every single month. Now, if you rehab the property properly, there should not be a ton of major items or honestly minor items. It's a house that you rehab, that you've been in every corner of, hopefully a contractor has. Even if it didn't need a ton of work, you at least checked everything out. So this shouldn't be a big deal at first. Over the years, it will eventually start to catch up to you. There will be maintenance that will need to be done that does not fall on the tenant, but we set aside about $150 every single month for maintenance, just to make sure that, you know, we have that. And if we don't use it for 4 or 5 months, you know, we have a few $100 in there, several $100 in there that we can use if something comes up. The fifth expense is vacancy. Hopefully you're going to have your property rented a majority of the time, but even if you have a tenant there for 2, 3, 4 years, eventually that tenant is going to move out. So you're going to want to make sure to set money aside for that, because when the tenant moves out, even if they took amazing care of the property, it's still probably going to be a month, maybe 2, of no rent collected, because you're going to have to get it cleaned up a little bit again, list it, go through tenants, and then a tenant maybe going to move in 2 or 3 weeks later. So I would say at least 1, maybe 2 months of not collecting rent. But guess what? During those months, you still have to pay mortgage, you still have to pay taxes, you still have to pay insurance. Probably not maintenance, but you're still going to have owning expenses even though you're not collecting rent. So put money aside so you're not digging into positive cash flow every single month. We do 5% of gross rent. The sixth and final expense that we accrue for every single month is property management. Now, if you're running the property yourself and managing the property yourself, you might maybe not put that in there. I suggest doing it still, because you want to make sure you cash flow in worst case scenario. If you do decide to outsource that or hire that out down the line, you're not going to want to have, you know, a big chunk of your cash flow come out unexpectedly. So even if you're managing it yourself, I would suggest putting 10% of gross rent aside and making sure you're still positively cash flow after that. And then you can pay yourself, or just leave it in there and have an extra cushion. Or if you're hiring it out, again, it's usually going to be around that 10% of gross rent for someone to manage the property and collect rent, or you do it yourself. So after everything, after you figure out what your rent's going to be, and after you figure out all these 6 owning expenses, you need to make sure your property still positively cash flows. Who knows what's going to happen in the future, but even in 08, the worst of the worst, the landlords that had good cash flowing properties were just fine. The landlords that, you know, collected rent, took care of their tenants, and still positively cash flowed, even though their properties dipped in value, were just fine. Not everybody got crushed in 08. Good landlords and good real estate investors did just fine because they had great relationships with banks and they still cash flowed. So make sure you're at least cash flowing. I suggest at least $200 to $300 a month after all these owning expenses. At least have that in there, and then you should be fine. In good times, you'll be great, and in bad times, you'll still be okay. Now let's hop on the computer, and I'm going to show you how much cash flow I actually make every single month from my 196 rental properties. Getting ready to hop into the computer right now and show you the numbers of what I cash flow every single month. Before I do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We release 2 new videos every single week, as well as go live. So make sure you're informed and make sure you get that notification when new stuff comes out. Let's check it out now. All right, here we are looking at my rental portfolio sheet. This is the Google Doc that we keep updated. The main thing I want to show you is how much we cash flow, which I'm getting ready to work my way to the right on our 196 rental properties. But kind of working from left to right, you can see we have all of our property addresses on the left, all of our houses, including the apartment complex and storage stuff at the bottom. You know, we have the market value of everything. We haven't updated that. We update that every couple of months. It's been a couple of months, so stuff's going up in value, so it's probably, you know, maybe closer to 26 million, maybe a little bit higher, but for this purposes, it's fine. Our current loan balance is at the bank. We update that every single month, you know, as we pay down the loan balance. But again, that probably hasn't been updated in a couple of months, so that's down a little bit. But you can see our 9.5 million in equity is probably more like 10, but that's fine for this purposes. As you can see, we don't have a loan balance on a few of these because we have them paid off. That gives us our current equity and our current loan to value of our portfolio. But let's focus here on row 3 and talk about the actual, you know, income that we're going to be getting every single month from these properties. So there is the rent that we collect. We do collect 99% of rent most months. So that's pretty accurate. That's what we should be collecting on paper in our rental income. And then let's work through that cash flow formula that I just talked about. Next, we have vacancy. We do put 5% a month every single side for vacancy. As we work to our right, we're going to get to a net cash flow number. Then we have our bank financing, which is our mortgage here. And then we have private lenders. So we do have private lenders long-term basis. You know, if you're doing the BRRRR method or the BRRRR strategy, you know, you're going to have private lenders in at the beginning, but then they're going to be gone once you refinance. But we do have some private lenders in our apartment complexes that are on 2 to 4 year terms. So, you know, over the years that goes down, but we do pay our private lenders almost, you know, a little over $9,000 a month. Then we have insurance of $8,000 a month. Taxes we set aside, you know, over almost $18,000 a month we set aside for taxes. So you can see that there. Then scroll a little bit further to the right, maintenance. Like I said, we set $150 aside per month per house. And then, you know, apartments, you don't need as much per door. You know, a 1-bedroom apartment is not as much maintenance as a, you know, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. So we usually do 75 to 100 per apartment door and 150 per house. And then property management, again, we pay our team. So we set aside for that. We have an in-house team that we pay. So we set that aside every single month to pay. We do have some owner paid utilities in our apartment complexes and, you know, common areas of things like that. We have to pay every single month. Vacant utilities, we do set a number aside every month because when the properties become vacant, we do have to pay the utilities. So we do kind of accrue for that as well. You know, it kind of could be part of vacancy, but it's an additional step we do because I really, really want to see the net amount we get. And as you can see, cash flow of a little over $32,000 a month. Now, I don't know if that's more than you were expecting or less than you were expecting, but it is, you know, what it should be most months. Some months it's less. It's usually not more than that, but some months it's definitely less if, you know, bigger maintenance items come up, or, you know, we have to, you know, do a little more expenses than we thought, or we don't collect as much rent for some reason. So it definitely fluctuates, but I would say it's usually around that 30,000. As you can see that I shoot for that couple $100 per door, but, you know, this one, you know, we have paid off. This one right here, you can see Amblewood is paid off. So we get more per that per month. Some of them are less than that 200. Some of them are more. So you can see, you know, we shoot for the 200, but overall, you know, with the paid off ones, some are better than others, but that's just the real numbers of what they are. So that's how much we collect every single month from our rental portfolio. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight. You can definitely collect more if you're doing everything yourself and not paying yourself, or, you know, we have people to manage this. That's why our, you know, property management costs us so much. So if you do it yourself, you can really cash flow more, but I choose to hire out, cash flow left, and do, you know, cash flow less and do more with my time. So that's our rental portfolio. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that subscribe button, that like button, share this with a friend, and I'd love to help educate you further going forward. See you on the next one.